The dark marks you're staring at in the mirror every morning is not dirt, it's not a suntan, and it's not permanent. But I am going to tell you something that the Indian skincare industry does not want you to know. Most Indians treating their hyperpigmentation in India are making it worse. Not because they're not trying hard enough, but because Indian cosmetic companies often copy-paste formulas from the West, made for lighter skins, and then sell them to brown Indians. Have you noticed how similar, for example, minimalist is to the ordinary? Time and money has not been spent on R&D for the Indian skin, even in India. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to give you the information I give my private patients, the biology, the mistakes, the treatments that actually work, and the ones that are actively damaging your skin. I'm Dr. Vanita Rattan, a medical doctor and a cosmetic formulator specifically for skin of color. I've treated over 40,000 cases of hyperpigmentation with a 95% success rate. It's also important to know this is a non-sponsored channel. I don't take money from any brand ever. Don't forget, I am in the comment section for 1 hour at the launch of every YouTube video, so when you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know that I'm here, so you can come and ask me your skincare questions. So why does skin darken? Before we talk about treatments, you need to understand what's actually happening in your skin. Because if you don't understand the problem, you can't understand the solution. Your skin has two types of cells that control your skin color. Melanocytes, those are specialist cells that live at the bottom layer of the skin, that's called the basal layer. Their job is to produce melanin, the pigment that gives your skin its color. Now, the skin cells around it are called keratinocytes, the everyday skin cells that make up 95% of your skin. They surround the melanocyte, they receive melanin, and then they carry it upwards as the skin turns over. So that's what you see on the top. When your skin is exposed to UV radiation, inflammation, hormones, or injury, those melanocytes receive a signal to produce more melanin. They package those into little capsules called melanosomes, then transfer those little packages through their long arms called dendrites into the surrounding keratinocytes, so it's the skin cells around it. As the skin surface turns over, those keratinocytes carrying this excess melanin move upward and become more visible on the surface. This is what you then see as a dark mark. Now, here is a critical insight that changes everything. For Indian skin, Fitzpatrick 4, 5, and 6, this entire cascade happens faster, more intensely, and with less provocation than it does for lighter skin. Your melanocytes are more reactive. This is not a flaw, it's evolution. Your melanocytes evolved this way because melanin is your natural UV protection. But in the modern world, where we're also dealing with hormonal contraceptives, pollution, heat, and cosmetic products formulated for European skin, that reactivity can work against us. Inside the melanocyte, there's an enzyme called tyrosinase. Tyrosinase is the key catalyst of melanin production. If you block that tyrosinase, you slow melanin production. This is why kojic dipalmitate, alpha-arbutin, vitamin C, and many other brightening ingredients work. They all target tyrosinase at different points. This is why melasma is the hardest type of pigmentation to treat, and why single ingredient skincare almost always fails on Indian skin. Let's talk about the 5 biggest mistakes you're making right now. These 5 mistakes are the reason 40,000 patients walked into my clinic after trying everything and getting nowhere. Mistake 1, no SPF. We're using the wrong SPF. This is the most expensive mistake you can make. Every morning you leave the house without SPF on your face, you are undoing everything your brightening products did the night before. Not slowing it down, undoing it. UV triggers a melanin cascade every single time your face is in daylight. Active treatment without SPF is like mopping the floor with the tap still running. You need SPF every day, rain or shine. Whether you work indoors or outdoors, visible light through the window can activate melanin production in Indian skin, even without direct sunlight. I prefer mineral SPF 50 over chemical because it's anti-inflammatory, which reduces hyperpigmentation. It also doesn't enter the bloodstream, which is why we tell pregnant women to wear mineral over a chemical. Mistake 2, using the wrong vitamin C. Most people treating hyperpigmentation in India are using L-ascorbic acid, pure vitamin C. Now, L-ascorbic acid requires a pH of 3 to 3.5 to work. That pH causes inflammation in Indian Indian skin. Inflammation activates melanocytes. You produce more melanin and your pigmentation worsens. I've seen this hundreds of times in clinic. The correct forms for Indian skin are ethyl ascorbic acid, ethyl ascorbate, sodium ascorbate phosphate, magnesium ascorbate phosphate, or ascorbate glucoside. These are stable. They work at a pH of 5 to 6 and do not cause the inflammatory response that triggers more pigmentation in darker skin types. Mistake 3, exfoliating too aggressively. This one is the hardest to hear because exfoliation does help with hyperpigmentation. It removes the darkened surface cells and speeds up cell turnover. But over-exfoliation, using high concentration of glycolic acid or scrubbing physically, causes inflammation. And inflammation in Indian skin equals more melanin production. Use mandelic acid, not glycolic acid, for Indian skin. It's a larger molecule with slower penetration, less irritation, the same result over time, but it's much safer. You also only do this at nighttime 1 to 2 nights a week. Mistake 4, stopping treatment too early. Hyperpigmentation in Indian skin took months or years to develop. The melanin is deep in the epidermis. Even when the right ingredients are being applied correctly, results take 8 to 12 weeks minimum, often 16 to 20 weeks for melasma. The most common reason I see patients fail is switching products at week 4 because they haven't seen dramatic results yet. The actives are working, but the cell turnover cycle takes 28 to 40 days just for one cell cycle. You need to be patient. It can take up to 3 cell cycles. Mistake 5, using too many actives at once. The skincare market has convinced you that more actives equals more results. It does not. Layering 5 different acids, a retinol, a vitamin C, and a niacinamide serum in the same routine causes barrier disruption and inflammation, which then causes darkening of skin. Let's talk about the different types of hyperpigmentation you're dealing with. Not all dark marks are the same. The treatment approach depends entirely on understanding which type you have. Here are the 3 most common types I see in Indian patients. Type 1, melasma. Melasma appears as symmetrical, irregular bordered brown or grey patches, typically on the forehead, the upper lip, the cheeks, and the nose bridge. If both sides of your face look similar, it's likely to be melasma. Melasma is a disorder of UV exposure combined with hormonal sensitivity. The melanocytes in melasma-affected skin have estrogen receptors, so things like pregnancy, contraceptive pills, HRT, and hormone fluctuations can directly stimulate melanocytes to overproduce melanin. This is why melasma is called the mask of pregnancy and why it almost exclusively affects women. The other thing to note is the pathology goes deeper than just the epidermis. Recent 2024 and 2025 research confirms that in melasma, there's also a disruption of the basement membrane, the scaffolding between the epidermis and the dermis. This is why melasma is the most stubborn form of hyperpigmentation. I'll be going through the step-by-step routine in a minute. The second type is PIH, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. This is what you get post-acne. PIH is the dark mark left behind after inflammation, most commonly after acne. The spot heals, but the melanocytes that were activated during the inflammatory episode leave behind deposits of melanin. In Indian skin, the deposit is darker and lasts longer than in lighter skin types. The mechanism is the acne creates inflammation. Inflammation activates the plasmin pathway. Plasmin stimulates the keratinocytes to release something called arachidonic acid and prostaglandins. These then signal to the melanocytes to produce melanin, and now a PIH mark appears. The good news is that PIH is generally more treatable than melasma because it's not hormonally driven. Once active acne is controlled and the inflammatory trigger is removed, the melanin can be addressed directly. Typical treatment times is 8 to 16 weeks. So the key insight for acne PIH in India is treating the pigmentation alone is not enough. You must simultaneously treat and prevent new acne. If you continue getting new spots, you continue producing new PIH marks, even while the old ones are fading. Let's talk about type 3 form of pigmentation, perioral hyperpigmentation. That's darkening around the mouth, and it's extremely common in Indian women. It's one of the most undertreated concerns that I see. This area darkens because of combination of sun exposure to a thin-skinned area, repetitive movements, hormonal influences, and also possible iron deficiency. And critically, reactions to certain toothpastes with fluoride compounds. Or the big one, which is fragrance lip products. Those juicy balms that have fragrance in them can lead to darkening of the lips. Please avoid them. The skin around the mouth is structurally different to the skin on the cheeks. It has fewer sebaceous glands and is subject to constant moving. And some individuals have direct melanocyte sensitivity to fluoride compounds in whitening toothpaste. So if you have perioral darkening and are using a whitening toothpaste, acid, consider switching to a plain fluoride toothpaste and see if it helps. This sounds simple, but I've seen it make a difference in clinic. The other big one is SPF around the mouth is often neglected because people avoid the lip area when reapplying sunscreen. This must change. The perioral area must receive the same SPF treatment as the rest of the face. Now, let's talk about how treatment works. I'm going to take you through the science of how brightening treatments actually work, not the marketing language, the actual molecular mechanism. There are 5 different points in the melanin cascade. Each one is a doorway. The best formulas attack multiple doorways simultaneously. Single ingredient products attack one doorway, and then we wonder why the melanin finds another way through. Let's talk about the 5 pathway briefly. Number 1 is tyrosinase inhibition. Number 2 is melanin transfer block. You want to prevent melanin from going from the melanocyte to the keratinocytes around it. Number 3 is the plasmin/UV inflammation pathway. You want to reduce it. Number 4 is gene regulation of specifically MITF, which will control how active the melanocyte is. And number 5 is cell turnover/exfoliation. Pathway 1, your tyrosinase inhibition. Now, tyrosinase converts tyrosine, an amino acid, into dopa and then into melanin. You want to block tyrosinase and you slow melanin production at its source. The ingredients that work well here are, for example, kojic acid and alpha-arbutin. There's a new ingredient that I love actually, and it's 23 times more potent than kojic acid. It's called hydroxyphenoxypropanoic acid. It's clinically shown to reduce melanogenesis, so the creation of melanin, by 86%. Pathway 2 is melanin transfer inhibition. Melanin is produced in the melanocyte, but becomes visible when it's transferred to the surrounding keratinocytes. You block that transfer and melanin stays in the melanocyte, which then naturally shed rather than spreading to the surface. Niacinamide at 2 to 5% is the key ingredient here. It interrupts the transfer of those parcels of melanin, called melanosomes, from the melanocyte to the surrounding keratinocytes. Pathway 3, the plasmin UV inflammation pathway. When UV hits the skin, keratinocytes release a molecule called plasmin. Plasmin triggers signaling that activates the melanocytes, even independently of direct UV stimulation of the cell. This pathway drives both melasma and PIH. Tranexamic acid works on this pathway by binding to plasminogen and preventing the conversion to plasmin. It interrupts the cascade at a point that no tyrosinase inhibitor can reach. This is why tranexamic acid has specific clinical evidence for melasma. Number 4, gene expression, MITF. Above the enzyme level, there's a gene called MITF, the master switch for melanocyte activity. When it's switched on, the downstream melanin-producing machinery activates. When it's switched off, melanin production slows across the board. Peptides, particularly signal peptides like those in matrixyl 3000 complex, can modify gene expression, including MITF. Combining peptides with tyrosinase inhibitors can give better results than either alone, because you're working at both the gene and the enzyme level. Pathway 5, cell turnover and exfoliation. Now, you only do this at nighttime. The fastest visible results come from accelerating cell turnover, moving the melanin-loaded skin cells, the keratinocytes, off the skin surface. Things like retinoids, such as retinol, retinaldehyde, work really well to do this. This is what we added in our Renew Peptide Retinol Serum, but this is not safe to wear during the day. This is your nighttime serum. For Indian skin, the choice of exfoliant matters enormously. You want to go for mandelic acid, not glycolic acid. Go for lactic acid, not glycolic acid. And go for PHAs if you have sensitive skin over AHAs. If you also have sensitive skin, go for retinaldehyde over retinol because it's more gentle and it's actually more effective than retinol. The goal is faster turnover without inflammation, because if you get inflamed, your brightening effects will be undone. I'm going to walk you through the Skin Renew range for brightening that I created with the Dermaco. I'm going to do it exactly the same way I've done everything in this guide, by explaining the ingredient science, not the marketing. Starting off with our face wash. This is a barrier first formulation. Most brightening face washes in India either use harsh surfactants that strip the barrier, triggering inflammation, or they use physical scrubs that cause micro tears or contain fragrance, leading to contact dermatitis. This face wash uses a gentle surfactant system with niacinamide and salicylic acid to begin the brighten process in the cleansing step. The pH is formulated to be skin compatible. So from step 1, you're not disrupting your natural acid mantle. Salicylic acid in a face wash is relevant in an Indian climate because you have increased sebum production. Excess sebum triggers acne, acne triggers PIH, and managing sebum at the cleansing step helps break that cycle. Moving on to the toner, the pH correction and prepping. Most people skip toner or use it as an afterthought. This one earns its place. After cleansing, even with a correctly formulated face wash, the skin pH can drift slightly alkaline. This toner corrects this back to a pH of 5 to 5.5 before serums are applied. This matters because many brightening actives such as tranexamic acid, alpha-arbutin, kojic acid perform better when the skin surface is slightly acidic. This toner also contains niacinamide and glycerin for hydration, prepping the skin for active penetration and adding the first layer of melanin transfer blocking. Moving on to our new launch, our Hyperpigmentation Serum, safe to use during the day. So that's how it comes up. So it's an airless pump. It's got a little hole at the bottom, so you know it's airless. Comes out like this, slightly blue color, and it glides so beautifully onto the skin. You apply this before your moisturizer. There are 4 actives that drive the depigmentation in this formula. Number 1 is hydroxyphenoxypropanoic acid. Clinical studies show an 86% reduction in melanogenesis. It outperforms kojic acid and arbutin in head-to-head comparisons. It primarily targets melanin transfer and also has a downstream effect on the MITF gene. I also added in liposomal tranexamic acid. This works on the plasmin pathway. Liposomal delivery means that it penetrates better into the skin, so it gets to where the hormonal and UV signaling for melasma originates. So it can work on melasma too, not just sunspots and PIH. Next is Matrixyl 3000. It works on gene regulation and downregulates MITF expression. In here, I've also added in 5% vitamin C. That's ascorbyl glucoside. So you combine these actives together to attack multiple pathways of melanin production. As a little treat, I also added in 4 forms of hyaluronic acid at different molecular weights for hydration. I also added in copper sulfate for collagen structural support, and there's no fragrance, alcohols, or dyes. The reason I use ascorbyl glucoside as the vitamin C form rather than ethyl ascorbic acid in this specific formula is peptide compatibility at pH of 5. Now moving on to your nighttime pigmentation serum, your retinol serum. This increases cell turnover. It contains 0.5% retinol and 0.5% retinaldehyde simultaneously. Why both? So retinol is the well-studied, well-tolerated standard, but retinaldehyde works 11 times faster. It's 11 times more potent, and it converts to retinoic acid in 1 step instead of 2, so it's more efficient. Retinaldehyde also has direct anti-hyperpigmentation evidence that retinol lacks. It can inhibit melanin production via direct enzyme interaction. Combined, they give faster cell turnover in a way that can be suitable for beginners in the Indian climate. But this is a nighttime serum. I think the important thing is really the proof. So if you have a look at Nykaa, this product, even though it's an expensive product at 1,599 rupees, it's got 500 plus reviews with a 4.5 star rating. For me, that just says it all. In here, I added in alpha-arbutin, niacinamide, and peptides because you know I love to stack actives so you get the best possible result. Last but not least is the moisturizer. This is your barrier protection. This moisturizer contains ceramides and peptides. So we need ceramides. We lack ceramides in our skin. Ceramides rebuild the lipid structure of the skin barrier that can be disrupted by actives over time. And an intact barrier means less inflammation, less irritation, and better performance of the actives that you apply. This is our Skin Renew Barrier Repair Moisturizer, and it's a lightweight moisturizer. I did that on purpose for the Indian climate. It comes out so beautifully, and it is very lightweight, which works nicely in the summer too. Screenshot this as your Brightening AM PM routine for hyperpigmentation, available on Nykaa. India, this is your opportunity to tell me what products you want me to formulate for you. Can you please write them down in the comment section? Love, Dr. V. Now you've finished this, you're gonna love this video.